A shocking controversy is shaking the tennis world. Could the sport's top-ranked player be involved in a hidden doping scandal? With whispers of secret deals, suspicious test results, and shocking revelations, the truth may be more explosive than anyone imagined. What's really going on behind the scenes? Stay with us as we dive deep into the doping drama that could change tennis forever. And before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more exclusive tennis insights. Inside the doping deal for tennis world number one. He has won the past 2 Grand Slams. But less than a month after his Australian Open victory, Jannik Sinner is the talk of tennis, after agreeing a doping deal which has seen him banned for 3 months. The timing means the men's world number one will be back for the next major, the French Open. Convenient, critics say. The controversial agreement between the Italian's legal team and the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, officials has prompted accusations of favoritism and led to some players questioning their faith in clean sport. But what really happened behind the scenes? And what impact might this case have on anti-doping? BBC Sport has spoken to key figures involved to establish the inside story, from the timing of the ban being compelling to the struggle of convincing Sinner to bear any ban at all when it was accepted he did not intend to cheat. Late-night calls that led to unbelievably quick deal. Little over a week ago, Sinner was practicing in Doha as he prepared to play in the Qatar Open. But he knew things might change quickly. Behind the scenes, there were discussions that would rule him out of that tournament in the next few months on tour. In what ended up being a late night, on February 14th, Sinner's lawyer Jamie Singer was deep in phone calls with WADA's most senior lawyer. Then, early the following morning, the surprise news emerged that the 3-time Grand Slam champion had accepted an immediate 3-month ban. Sinner and WADA announced they had entered into a case resolution agreement over his 2 failed drugs tests last March. This is a special mechanism that has been in place for the past 4 years and allows deals to be agreed to conclude doping cases. It all happened unbelievably quickly, Singer told BBC Sport. In a matter of a couple of days, really. Tricky to persuade Sinner to accept deal. How do you persuade the world number one player to accept a ban for something he believes he is innocent of? That was the challenge facing Sinner's team. To understand the extent of that, we have to rewind to August when an independent tribunal cleared him of wrongdoing. It accepted Sinner's explanation that traces of clostebol, a banned anabolic steroid, had entered his system through inadvertent contamination from his physio during a massage. WADA, while not challenging the tribunal's overall decision, appealed against the panel's ruling that Sinner bore no fault or negligence. However, this would have carried a ban of 1 to 2 years at the Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS. Although WADA initially called for this punishment publicly, eventually its officials came to feel this would not be the right outcome. With time ticking before the CAS hearing in April, WADA made 2 approaches to Sinner's team for the case resolution agreement. The first attempt was rebuffed as Sinner's team wanted to submit the full defense case first. That was handed over on January 31st, and in early February the first concrete discussions began after the second approach. But with Sinner always sure of his innocence and confident he would face no ban, would he accept a 3-month suspension? His lawyer Singer said it was quite tricky to convince Sinner to take the offer. When I was saying, well, look, maybe we should settle for 3 months, he was saying, well, why would we do that if the first independent tribunal found it was no ban at all? Why would I accept 3 months now? Singer said. My advice was, one never knows what's going to happen at a hearing. We know that WADA are pushing for a year. If we don't accept their offer, then they will go to court looking for a year, and who knows what those 3 judges could do. So the possibility of 3 months, in my view, was a good possibility. Why the deal was made. WADA felt the independent tribunal should have punished Sinner for strict liability, that he was ultimately responsible for failing the 2 drugs tests. Its officials felt pursuing a suspension was key in defending the important principle that athletes do in fact bear responsibility for the actions of their entourage. So why was WADA happy to offer Sinner a 3-month ban? WADA's general counsel Ross Wenzel said there wasn't a fundamental change in how the agency viewed the case, but it came down to what it considered fair. This was a case that was a million miles away from doping, Wenzel told BBC Sport. The scientific feedback that we received was that this could not be a case of intentional doping, including microdosing. Had the case gone to CAS, the outcome would have either been a ban of at least a year or Sinner being cleared. I'm not sure that a sanction of 12 months in this case. If we'd have forced the tribunal into that position, or a case of no fault, would have been a good outcome, said Wenzel. One would have compromised an important principle under the code. The other one, in our view, would have been an unduly harsh sanction. Case resolutions have been allowed since 2021, and Wenzel said WADA had since struck 67 agreements. The code is set to change from 2027, meaning cases where players have failed tests but were deemed not to be at fault, like Sinner, could be punished from a reprimand to a 2-year ban. In 2 years, Sinner would simply have had a slap on the wrist, one source from an anti-doping organization told BBC Sport. Backlash on the tour from players. Some top players continue to believe Sinner has been given preferential treatment because of his status. Both the International Tennis Integrity Agency, ITIA, and WADA flatly reject any suggestion that is the case. But it is clear Sinner, and 5-time women's major champion Iga Swiatek, who received a 1-month suspension last year after testing positive for heart medication trimetazidine, have benefited from being able to pay top lawyers to act quickly. A majority of the players don't feel that it's fair, said 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic. It appears that you can almost affect the outcome if you are a top player, if you have access to the top lawyers. Sinner's lawyer said he thought the swift resolution of the case came down to taking an unusual legal approach. From day one, Jannik didn't challenge the science, he didn't challenge the test, didn't challenge the rules, Singer told BBC Sport. He accepted, even though it's a trace, it's a billionth of a gram. He accepted that he was liable for what was in his body. And so we didn't waste time and money on all of those challenges, which traditionally defense attorneys would throw the kitchen sink at. We just focused on the evidence of what actually happened, and when we did that, we managed to do that very quickly and demonstrate very plausibly what had happened. Singer was also aware that the timing of the ban was as good as it could possibly be. We can't get away from the fact that you can't choose when these things happen, he said. So the fact that WADA approached us and in the next 3 months there are no Grand Slams, that seemed to me to make their offer more compelling. Several players believe the timing was suspiciously convenient, with Britain's Liam Brodie saying it had impacted Sinner's career as little as possible. Asked directly why the deal had come about now, Wenzel insisted it was not taken with the tennis calendar in mind. Because of the timing of the CAS proceedings, it happened to be decided on 14 or February 15th, whatever it was, last Friday, said Wenzel. It was a very late night, and it came into effect immediately, so that is the reason for the timing. The Professional Tennis Players Association, PTPA, an organization co-founded by Djokovic which aims to increase player power, believes there is a lack of transparency, process, and consistency in the system. Supposed case-by-case discretion is, in fact, merely cover for tailored deals, unfair treatment, and inconsistent rulings, the PTPA said in a statement. It's time for change. 3-time Grand Slam champion Stan Wawrinka, writing on social media, said he did not believe in a clean sport anymore. Why did Sinner's team escape sanction? Another talking point has centered around why Sinner's former physio and trainer, who were both deemed responsible for Clostebol entering the players' system, have not faced any action from the authorities. Physio Giacomo Naldi was treating a cut on his own hand using a popular over-the-counter spray provided by fitness trainer Umberto Ferrara. Trofidermin is readily available in Italy for skin abrasions, cuts, and wounds. It contains Clostebol, a steroid that can build muscle mass and enhance athletic performance. Neither Naldi nor Ferrara were found by the independent tribunal to have intentionally acted to break doping rules. According to Italian law, the packaging on Trofidermin must have a visible doping warning. Over the past few years, several Italian athletes, across tennis, football, and athletics, have tested positive for clostebol. Sinner has since parted ways with Naldi and Ferrara, but players, including Brody, have publicly questioned how the entourage of one of the world's leading players could have made such a mistake. While Sinner serves his ban, Ferrara is continuing to work on the ATP Tour with another Italian player, former Wimbledon finalist Matteo Berrettini. What next for Sinner? Sinner is allowed to return to competitive action on May 5th, just days before the Italian Open begins in Rome, and ahead of the French Open at the end of the month. From now until April 13th, Sinner can practice at a private training base if he does not come into contact with other professional players. Underwater rules, he can start official training activity from April 13th. Sinner is not allowed to attend any ATP, WTA, or ITF events in any kind of capacity until the ban is lifted on May 5th. Since the news of his ban emerged a week ago, Sinner, who lives in Monte Carlo and has family in northern Italy where he grew up, was said by a member of his team to have been resting as he takes stock of the situation. If he returns at the Italian Open, Sinner will likely receive a hero's reception from the home fans who idolize him. Most tennis fans here think the ban is absurd and are still supporting him. Sinner mania has not wavered. Italian journalist Daniele Veri told BBC Sport. Whether he will receive that type of support at Roland Garros remains to be seen. The mood within the locker room could also be frosty, given the skeptical public reaction from many. However, a source close to Sinner said he had also received support from some of his fellow ATP players, pointing to the public comments made by the likes of Jack Draper, Matteo Berrettini, and Lorenzo Sonego. Asked if Sinner was aware of and upset by the negative reaction from some players, the team member pointed to Sinner's repeated comments that he cannot control what people think or say. Jannik is a very resilient young man, and in his own mind he knows he's done absolutely nothing wrong, and the process has been absolutely by the book. So I think he's very comfortable in himself, Singer told BBC Sport. He keeps off social media where there are an awful lot of people with a platform and who don't necessarily know the facts of the case or investigate the facts of the case as much as they might do. WADA believes the Sinner case has shown the system is working, but it cannot duck the reality that, for as much as everyone involved might insist this case has been handled by the book, it has left some people feeling very uneasy. The full fallout and ramifications of the deal may well leave a cloud hanging over the rest of the season. The truth behind this doping controversy is still unfolding, and the impact on the tennis world could be massive. Will this scandal change the sport forever? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on all the latest tennis drama, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.